The night the fire came for my farm is carved into my memory like a scar on flesh. But the truth is, the flames didn't begin with a spark from a match. They began long before, with hatred. And that hatred had a name. Karen. I grew up on this land. My father, and his father before him, had coaxed life from this soil with cracked hands and stubborn grit. Corn was more than a crop to us. It was a legacy. Each summer when the fields ripened into a golden sea, I felt like I was standing inside a cathedral, the stalks towering high, whispering secrets in the wind. It wasn't just food. It was proof that sweat, patience, and faith in the earth could give something back. When I inherited the farm, I swore I'd keep that promise alive. But Karen didn't see legacy. She saw inconvenience. She'd moved in years earlier, buying a big house down the road with a freshly painted mailbox and a picture-perfect lawn. She had a taste for manicured perfection and a hunger for control. HOA meetings weren't just gatherings for her. They were stages, and she was the lead actress. From the very first day, she made it clear. My farm didn't fit into her vision of the neighborhood. At first, it was small things. Notes slipped into my mailbox. Please move your tractor. This is a neighborhood, not a scrapyard. Or, the smell from your fertilizer is disturbing the residents. Then it became fines. Petty little charges slapped on me for unsightly equipment or for dust carried onto the road. I laughed it off in the beginning. Farming makes dust. Farming smells. It's what it is. But Karen wasn't laughing. She wasn't stopping. Soon, I'd catch her watching me from across the road, arms folded, lips pursed like she was sucking lemons. She'd time my every move, filing complaints if I so much as left tools in the yard overnight. It wasn't about rules anymore. It was personal. One afternoon, I came home to find her standing on the edge of my driveway. She didn't bother with pleasantries. She never did. "This land doesn't belong here anymore," she said flatly, her tone carrying that cutting edge she always used when she wanted to sound superior. "We're a growing community, families, professionals. Your farm doesn't fit. The board agrees. Maybe it's time you sold." I looked past her at my fields, the sun setting over them, painting the stalks in fire gold. "This land fed families before your HOA ever existed," I said. "And it'll still be here long after your rules are forgotten." Her eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that." I should have known then how far she'd go. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. The evening was calm at first. The sky was wide and clear, stars beginning to prick the dark. I had finished checking the irrigation lines and was headed back to the house when it hit me. That smell. Not wood smoke. Not the soft, sweet burn of a fireplace. This was acrid, heavy, wrong. I froze, heart hammering, then bolted toward the field. And there it was, a wall of fire tearing through my corn. The flames roared like beasts, swallowing everything in their path. Dry stalks popped and crackled, collapsing into themselves, turning my golden sea into a blackened wasteland. Heat slammed into me, searing my skin, forcing me to shield my face. It felt like the earth itself was screaming. I shouted, though I couldn't hear my own voice over the roar. I wanted to wake up, to find it was just a nightmare. But the fire was real, too real. And then, through the haze of smoke, I saw her, Karen. She stood at the roadside, arms folded, her face lit by the glow of my burning field. Her lips were curved, not into fear, not into shock, but into the faintest, cruelest smirk. And that was when the last doubt burned away. She had done this. I stumbled toward her, coughing, my throat raw. "What did you do?" I screamed, though my voice broke with the smoke. She didn't flinch. She tilted her head like a teacher scolding a child. "Maybe now you'll finally understand," she said calmly. "This is not farmland anymore. This is a neighborhood. You either adapt or you go." The firelight danced in her eyes, making them look almost gleeful. I wanted to grab her, to shake her, to drag her into the mess she'd made. But I knew better. I knew the moment I touched her, she'd spin it, twist it, make me the villain, so I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Minutes later, the night was ripped open by the wail of sirens. Red and blue lights sliced through the smoke, bouncing off the haze. Fire trucks thundered down the road, brakes screeching, tires spitting gravel. Firefighters jumped out, their voices sharp and urgent, hauling hoses like weapons into battle. Water blasted from the lines, hissing as it struck the inferno. Steam rose in massive clouds, choking the night. The air was a war zone. Fire against water, smoke against breath. I stood on the edge of it all, my chest heaving, watching years of work collapse into ash, and then something changed. The wind shifted, the flames leapt across the road, straight toward Karen's perfectly polished hedges. Her plastic fence, her backyard deck stacked with furniture, her smirk shattered. Panic clawed across her face. She shrieked, running back and forth, pointing at her house. "My property! Save my house! Forget the field, it's just crops!" The firefighters didn't even acknowledge her. They turned their hoses, blasting water at her yard as embers rained down. The irony nearly knocked me to my knees. One of the firefighters came to me, his face grim under the mask. "Do you know how this started?" he asked. I didn't hesitate. "Her," I said, pointing. My voice was ragged but steady. "She was here before it started. She's been threatening me for months. She wanted this farm gone." He looked over at her, his eyes narrowing. "You're not the first to say something like that." And as if the universe itself wanted justice, neighbors began to gather. People who had seen her earlier, lurking with a lighter. People who had heard her muttering about getting rid of the farm once and for all. The fire chief strode over to her, his presence like a hammer. "Ma'am, we're going to need to ask you some questions." Karen's face drained of color. "What? No! I didn't do anything. He probably set this fire himself for attention." But nobody bought it. Not this time. The whispers grew louder. Witnesses stepped forward, and the smirk that had lived on her lips for years crumbled into desperation. By the time the last flame died, half my field was gone. The earth was scorched, blackened, a graveyard where life once stood tall. I dropped to my knees, running my hands through the ashes, the weight of loss pressing like iron on my chest. But when I looked up, I saw Karen, her wrists bound in handcuffs, her voice shrill as she begged the officers not to take her. She thrashed, swore, spat out excuses, but it was over. For the first time, her mask was gone. Everyone saw her for what she really was: a bully, a liar, a saboteur, a criminal. The days that followed were heavy. The smell of smoke clung to everything. Even after the firefighters left, I couldn't look at the blackened field without feeling a knife twist in my chest. Generations of work, gone in one night. But then something happened I didn't expect. Neighbors, people who had kept quiet before, came to me. Some brought food, others money, others just their hands to help clear the debris. They'd all been afraid of Karen, afraid of crossing her, afraid of becoming her next target. But now, with her gone, they finally spoke the truth. "She terrorized all of us," one neighbor admitted. "But you were the only one who stood up to her." Their words didn't bring my corn back, but they reminded me I wasn't alone. I started again. The land was scarred but not dead. Soil remembers. It heals if you give it time. Each morning I walked the field, breathing deep, listening to the silence. And in that silence, I heard something I hadn't heard in a long time. Hope. The first green shoots broke through the charred soil weeks later, small, fragile, but alive. And I knew then, no matter how much Karen had tried to destroy me, she couldn't kill what was rooted deeper than fire. I share this with you not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. People like Karen exist everywhere. People who thrive on control, who burn down what they can't own, who destroy rather than let others live free. But here's the truth. Fire reveals. It shows what's real and what's weak. And when the smoke clears, you see who stands with you and who falls. If you've ever faced your own Karen, don't give up.
Don't let them break you.
Stand your ground. Because in the end, their fire will consume them, not you. And if this story hit you the way it hit me, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video, because the fight against people like her isn't just mine.